Hello everyone, welcome to the video. It's time to overanalyze the version 3.6 Genshin Impact livestream and trailer. Now what I want to do is just go over some of the things, especially with the new world boss, Apep, Nahida story quest, Baizhu story quest, what the blue thing is, or is it green? Yeah, what the green thing is, and what the pink thing is. So let's start with Nahida's story quest and the new weekly boss, Apep. Now in the very beginning of the trailer, Nahida hints us on some of the details behind Apep.
The history of dragons starts from the very beginning of Teyvat. Dragon King?
Now, if we're talking about dragon-like creatures, it obviously reflects back to the 7 sovereigns, bishops that existed that predates the world of Teyvat. Now, if that's true, then Apep is likely the Dendro Dragon King, so to say. So for Mondstadt, we have Dvalin, the animal dragon. In Liyue, we got Ashtaha, the Geo Dragon. And if we're talking about Inazuma, Urabosh is likely the one that fits the bill pretty well, because even though it's like a snake and more of a serpent, it is considered a dragon-like serpent creature in one of the descriptions that was in the game. So if that's true, and if these are the 7 sovereigns or the bishop king dragon kings, then that's very interesting, because now we have Apep, the Dendro one. Of course, I'm not just saying this out of gut feeling. It's very strange, because if you go back to the trailer, the voice, or what we suspect is the voice of Apep, kind of reflects this idea of resentment towards the gods and maybe Celestia herself. I'll play the clip.
Both of you have only existed for a fraction of what you know as time. Yet you call yourselves lords of this land by leaning on the heavens' glow.
Now, what's interesting is that voice, if you recall in the very beginning, it says both of you. Now, one of them is obviously Nahida because it's part of the story quest. But who is the other person that Apep is actually talking to? Is it the Traveler? Which kind of makes no sense, because Traveler's not really like from this world to begin with. Or is it talking to somebody else? Someone completely different? I mean, we've been baited with these dialogues before, so maybe it's like a complete different situation in the quest itself. Maybe it's talking to a different individual, not the Traveler, or maybe it's talking to Paimon. That makes things very suspicious. Now, obviously, these voice lines in these trailers, they have the tendency to bait you to oblivion. It may not even have the right context, but I just thought it was pretty suspicious about who this both of you could be. Now, we also learned that apparently Apep used to be green, but now it's gray because of what happened in the Cataclysm 500 years ago in Conria. Now, that's kind of weird and strange, because if that were true, there's another instance where in the game, they described that King Deshret was friends with Apep and they built this paradise together. But then that was before King Deshret died. King Deshret sacrificed himself to get rid of this illness that was going on thousands of years ago. So it got me wondering, did Apep had this illness before and then it was cured because after the sacrifice of King Deshret, but then for some reason in the Cataclysm it happened again? I don't know how that works, because the timeline is very iffy when it comes to King Deshret. We don't even really know who exactly he is still. We kind of know, but not really. So that's something that I'm interested in finding out, and hopefully Nahida's story quest kind of explains a little bit more detail of who Apep really is and what the timeline is between, like, you know, Apep, King Deshret, Goddess of Flowers, Rukkhadevata, all that good stuff. Speaking of Goddess of Flowers, I found it very interesting. Is it just me, or why did Hoyoverse release Nahida's banner alongside Nilou? I know that this might not have any meaning whatsoever, but perhaps it's coincidental in a weird way, because think about it this way, right? Nilou is like a reflection of Goddess of Flower, and Goddess of Flower is a descendant of the Seelie race. And in this patch, we get some weird entities called a Pari that apparently seems to reflect the Seelies in some way. So in the live stream, we were introduced to Sorush, I think that's how you pronounce the name, one of the race of Pari. Now, first of all, what is Pari? I was curious, so I looked it up. Apparently in Hindu, Pari is like this fairy-like creature with magical powers. Now, we have a handful of fairy-like creatures in the game. We have like Seelies, genies, and now Pari. Weirdly, they all end with E for some reason. Is it coincidental? Well, as Dainsley puts it, nothing is coincidental. If you're familiar with the story of the Seelies and the downfall of the Seelies in the ancient era, thousands of years ago, weirdly, the dialogue in the trailer, which I'm suspecting is one of the Paris, it kind of mirrors each other very strangely, but almost directly.
I come from an ancient race. We have existed for a very long time, possibly longer than any records in existence. We were victims of the apocalypse.
So just like the Sealies, if the voice is a Pari in the trailer, then ancient civilization, destruction, a race that's really old. There's a lot of similarities, and then we put the genie in the picture. It's weird. And what's even weirder is the fact that the Sealies, the genies, and now the Paris, it's like if you combine them all together, they kind of look like Oceanid, the boss, the water boss. I don't know how to pronounce the name properly. Oceanid. Let me know if you know how to pronounce it correctly. But if you combine them all together, it kind of looks like it, which is very suspicious. And we're like right around the corner with Fontaine. Weird. Now, speaking of downfall of civilization, we have one new boss and one new enemy. Iniquitous Baptist, I think that's how you pronounce it. And then we have that rogue-like Helitro. It's very suspicious because we don't know if this Baptist being thing is connected to the Abyss or the Forbidden Knowledge, because we know from the previous Archon Quest of Daneslave, there's like a little bit of a difference between the Forbidden Knowledge and the Abyss of Power actually pre-existed before the Abyss Order. So is this Iniquitous Baptist part of the ancient Forbidden Knowledge and has nothing to do with the Abyss? Or is it part of the Abyss? We also got information about Caribert in the previous Archon Quest, and then strangely, we have this new Helitro that looks completely different, that has no affiliation to apparently the different tribes of Helitros. We'll see what happens. It's very intriguing, like dying to know what the backstory is, because if we get in the game, I'm sure there's more lore behind it, and we get maybe a better picture of what the whole thing with the Archon Quest Caribert with Daneslave was supposed to be, like almost as a stepping stone or a setup to this area. Now, speaking of the new area, I don't know if you guys saw, there's a description of the new area that was shown in the live stream. And if we take a closer look, I noticed something really suspicious about the description. It says only a hidden lost Darshan and mythical creatures safeguard the long sealed memories. Mythical creatures, probably Paris that we're gonna be introduced to in the new patch. But then what is the hidden lost Darshans? Darshans, I'm sure you guys already know this, but for those of you who don't know, it's the 6th school of knowledge in the academia. You know, we've got like the architecture, the relics, Sinos in one of them, those kind of things. But we only know 6, I think. But now it's saying in this description, a hidden lost Darshan. A separate hidden lost school of knowledge. Is this something that I am just dumb or unaware or uneducated on? I don't know. If you guys have better thoughts or information about this, let me know in the comments below. But it seems like, from what I think is, if it's true, then this area has also some kind of a secret relating to a lost possible Darshan school of knowledge. Weird. Speaking of Darshans, the new event. I'm sure everybody's dying to know who that silhouette is. You know how there's like 5 different characters and at the end there's a silhouette? I was curious, so I looked it up. Apparently, each individual Darshan's a school of knowledge. There's only one playable character in each Darshan, except the one with the silhouette. Okay, there's one character for each. Is there a playable character in the last Darshan? Apparently there's none. What I did find is 19 NPCs and no playable characters. So really, I was curious on who the silhouette was, but now I'm thinking about it, there's probably no character there because there's no playable character in the Vahamana Darshan. So, I mean, choose here one of the 19 NPCs, whatever looks the closest. Now, if there is like randomly another playable character that decides to join that Darshan, that would be pretty epic. We'll see how the event pans out, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Speaking of playable character, we also have Baizhu's story quest. Now, I thought the voice actors did a phenomenal job in the video kind of teasing us with Baizhu's backstory, because I think they explained Baizhu has a master, or had a master. Hu Tao had a master, which was Hu Tao's grandpa, and Baizhu's master and Hu Tao's grandpa, they also had another master where they learned their trade, so to say. Interestingly, their concept of life and death was conflicting with each other, Baizhu's master and Hu Tao's grandpa, and then that trickled down to Baizhu and Hu Tao, which is very interesting because if we learned previously, Hu Tao is more about passing, like embracing the passing of life and like guiding to the afterlife. Guiding those people to the afterlife, right? But then Baizhu, because he's a doctor, He doesn't want people to go to the afterlife. He wants to heal them and make sure they're alive. So that conflict between the concept and perception of moral values maybe is conflicting with each other, and I thought that was really cool. And hopefully in the Baizhu story quest that gets explained a little bit more, because I'm dying to know. I didn't even know Baizhu had a master. I think that's the first time we learned about it. Which portion are you most excited for? Let me know. And if you enjoyed this kind of style of video, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know that you liked it so I can do more of these videos in the future. Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye, hope you liked it. Bye, hit the like, subscribe, peace.